Hello and welcome to Moments with the Master. I am the Egg Friar, and this is August the 24th. I'm the pastor at St. Martin's Celtic Catholic Church in Concord, North Carolina. I'm coming to you a little late today because I just got back from annual training. It was my last time with the unit I'm currently with, getting ready to move to my new unit for the deployment. Excuse me. So, coming to you now. Our readings for this week, or this past Sunday, were Isaiah chapter 56, verses 1 through 7, Psalm 67, Romans chapter 11, verses 13 through 15, and 29 through 32, and Matthew chapter 15, verses 21 through 28. As always, I encourage you to read them all. Today, I'm going to focus on the gospel passage, and I'm going to do something a little bit unusual, in that I am going to actually read the two pericopes, is what we call them. That's the fancy word in seminary for the stories that go together with this. This same passage is also in Mark with some addendum. So it's Matthew chapter 15, verses 22 through 31, and Mark chapter 7, 24b through 37. Now, these two events are back to back. They come after the events we talked about or read about the week before in where Jesus walked on the water. And I bring them together because there's an interesting thing here that connect them, and I want to talk about that as well. So let me read this to you. It's from the New Living Translation, and what I've done is merged these two texts into one narrative. So it says, he meaning Jesus, didn't want anyone to know which house he was staying in, but he couldn't keep it a secret. Right away, a woman who had heard about him came and fell at his feet. Her little girl was possessed by an evil spirit, and she begged him to cast out the demon from her daughter. Have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David, for my daughter is possessed by a demon that torments her severely. But Jesus gave her no reply, not even a word. Then his disciples urged him to send her away. Tell her to go away, they said. She is bothering us with all her begging. Since she was a Gentile born in Syria and Phoenicia, Jesus told her, I was sent only to help God's lost sheep, the people of Israel. But she came and worshipped him, pleading again, Lord, help me. Jesus responded, It isn't right to take food from the children and throw it to the dogs. She replied, That's true, Lord, but even the dogs under the table are allowed to eat the scraps from the children's plates. Good answer, he said. Dear woman, your faith is great. Your request is granted. Now go home, for the demon has left your daughter. And her daughter was instantly healed. When she arrived home, she found her little girl lying quietly in bed, and the demon was gone. Jesus left Tyre and went up to Sidon before going back to the Sea of Galilee and the region of the 10 towns. Jesus returned to the Sea of Galilee and climbed a hill and sat down. A vast crowd brought to him people who were lame, blind, crippled, those who couldn't speak, and many others. They laid them before Jesus, and he healed them all. The crowd was amazed. Those who hadn't been able to speak were talking. The crippled were made well. The lame were walking, and the blind could see again. A deaf man with a speech impediment was brought to him, and the people begged Jesus to lay his hands on the man to heal him. Jesus led him away from the crowd so they could be alone. He put his fingers into the man's ears, then spitting on his own fingers, he touched the man's tongue. Looking up to heaven, he sighed and said, Ephphatha, which means be opened. Instantly the man could hear perfectly, and his tongue was freed, so he could speak plainly. Jesus told the crowd not to tell anyone, but the more he told them not to, the more they spread the news. They were completely amazed and said again and again, Everything he does is wonderful. He even makes the deaf to hear and gives speech to those who cannot speak. And they praised the God of Israel. Now, I don't want to, there's a lot of stuff I could talk about and have talked about with this passage. But specifically relating, so when you look at all the passages for this past week, they all talk about Gentiles coming into the kingdom, which is specifically about the Syrian Phoenician woman, specifically what they're talking about with her. Although the deaf man also would have been a Gentile, because Jesus did both those miracles in the region that was known as the Decapolis, or the 10 towns. And so Jesus does this miracle. Now, it's interesting that when this woman comes to Jesus, she falls at his feet, she begs him to heal her daughter. His disciples treat her with what we would consider a great deal of disrespect. Now, in their day, the way they treated her would have been perfectly normal based on their understanding at that time, because she was a woman, and so women just didn't approach men like that. She was a Gentile, so she wasn't even a Jewish woman, and for her to approach a Jewish rabbi would have been unheard of. And on top of that, she's a Canaanite. She's Syrian Phoenician. So she's descended from the people that had been driven out of Israel. So she didn't belong to anyone or anywhere. She was displaced, unwanted, and unloved. And she was annoying to the disciples. And even Jesus, it says, he ignores her. Then he says, I've come for the lost sheep of Israel, which is true. Now let's be clear. God's intent was always that the Gentiles would come into the kingdom of God, all the way back in the Old Testament. That was his whole purpose for putting Israel where he put them. But his specific mission when he was on earth was to preach to the lost sheep of Israel. The preaching to the Gentiles was going to come a little later. And then she responds to that. So he says, you don't take food from the children and throw it to the dogs. Now, we read that from our perspective today, and we're like, oh, wow, Jesus is so mean. Why would he say such a terrible thing? And I've heard preachers stumble around that a lot. But here's what Jesus was really saying. The word there means puppy. And so the truth is, there's no such thing as an unwanted puppy, right? Jesus says, you don't give the children's food to the puppies. And she's like, well, even the puppies get food from the children's plate. So you can imagine Jesus, because Jesus is trying to teach something as a rabbi. He's not as much responding to the woman as he's trying to teach something to his disciples. And to us by extension. And so I can imagine him smiling and says, well, you don't take the children's food and give it to puppies. And she understands what he's saying. She's like, well, yeah, but even the children sneak food off and, sneak it under the table to the dogs, to the puppies. And he's amazed by her faith. And so he heals her daughter. He does something that would have been culturally unheard of by responding to her. Then he heals the deaf man. He does it in such a way because he spits on his fingers, which is a specific affront to the rules of the Pharisees, of the religious leaders. It's not in the Torah, but they didn't like it, and Jesus did that all the time. He did stuff specifically. He went out of his way to try to basically kind of tweak the ears of the religious leaders. So he heals that man. But here's one of the big things. When it's all done, it says the people in the area, all these Gentiles, that they're amazed. Now, there's a word in Greek, perissos, which means beyond measure. It means really beyond measure, meaning just overflowing. So they're beyond amazed. They're overflowing with amazement. But the word that's used here in this passage is hyperperissos. It's the only time it's used in the whole Bible. And it just means if I'm shocked, if perissos means I'm shocked, hyperperissos means I'm bowled over, I'm on my back, I'm just almost fainting, I'm so stunned. And what they say is that everything he does is wonderful. And then they praise God, maybe for the first time. And so there's a couple of things from this that I just think are really important for us. One, I think we need to think about, how do we treat people that we consider on the outside? Now, being on the outside means different things to different people. To the disciples, that woman was clearly on the outside. They looked down on her, and they wanted Jesus to treat her the way that everyone else would have treated her, especially the religious people. And so I think we need to think about, are we treating people like the disciples, or are we seeing them like Jesus? Do we see people through the eyes of condemnation or through the eyes of mercy? When I want you, as you're listening to this, think about the people who disgust you the most. I mean, we're in a political season right now, and I've seen people that I know or go to church that are posting and saying horrible things about people that they disagree with, people that disgust them. My question to you is, whoever those people are you being Jesus to them? And then finally, and I think most importantly, how does the world see us as followers of Christ? When they see what we do the people around us say and cry out, everything they do is wonderful, and praise God? Well, across the United States, I think the answer is no. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that Christianity in the United States is generally seen in a negative light. Now, that wasn't always the case. There was a period of time when people who didn't go to church had a generally favorable view of churches and would go to the church for help. But that's really not true anymore. Churches across the United States are in rapid decline. For every church we plant in our country, 4 churches close their doors. Now, people don't leave a place they find valuable. Unfortunately, most people don't look at the churches in their community and think, well, that is a group of loving people who are doing wonderful things. They just aren't praising God because of us. And it's not that they hate us. It's actually much worse than that. They often don't even care that we exist or even know that we exist. Now, our churches are reflections of their individual members. If I am not reflecting the values of Jesus and serving people sacrificially, and I'm not gathering other people that do the same, then the church won't either. So how do we change that? Well, the great thing is we have a great set of instructions and a great model. So there's 2 things I think we need to do. First, we need to confront religion that destroys and replace it with relationships that heal. You see this over and over again in the ministry of Jesus. He confronted the man-made rules of the religious people, and through his actions, he was drawing people into a relationship with Yahweh. Churches need to be seen as places of healing, not places of condemnation. And then secondly, we need to focus less on theology and more on practice. Theology is great, but if all you do is know the right things and never do the right things, then you're lost. So many churches only focus on the knowing. As we saw in this passage today, Jesus focuses on the doing. I mean, he could have stood there and talked about the fact that that woman and that deaf man were pagans, that they were following false gods, that they were ignoring the God of Israel. He doesn't even bring it up, though. He just heals them. Our theology should influence our practice and not be an end in itself. When Jesus preached the Sermon on the Mount, his command to us was to let our light shine before all people so that they see what we do and praise our Father. So let's be like Jesus, loving the outcast and bringing healing to a sick world. When we do that, people will see how wonderful Jesus is and come and join us in following him. May it be so with you as well. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.